Another Dooley Noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. Okay, and welcome into another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. We are here at Steve Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, and we'll be joined by Steve Spurrier a little bit later in the show, and he'll talk about what he saw, not only at Duke Clemson, where he was, but also Florida, Utah, where he wasn't, but probably was glad he wasn't. But we'll talk to him about that. Coach Spurrier will also be on Monday. We'll get back to our regular schedule where we have Monday, Thursday shows. And so Coach Spurrier will be on Monday. And then on Thursday, Andy Staples is going to join us. So that'll be fun to talk to him from On3 Sports. We'll talk college football with him. Let's get to our process service of Gainesville starting five. We got a lot of things to talk about. Number one, on the process service starting five, what do you want to see from this game? It's McNeese State. We all know they're not any good. They lost to Tarleton State. Most of you don't know where that is, although I did know. I looked it up. So when Andy Staples asked that question at the quarterback club the other night, I went, oh, Stevensville, Texas. Everybody. Of course, he goes, you would know that. I go, yeah, because I know every nickname and it's just the way I am. I'm built that way. But anyway, what do you want to see from this game? Well, you're not going to get a lot that's going to make you happy because it's McNeese State. You want to see special teams maybe win a game. I'm not saying they've got to be the difference, but just be better than the other team at special teams. That would be something I haven't seen around here in a long time. You want to see that? You want to see the penalties obviously go away and not be as bad. Remember last year under Coach Napier, Florida started the season. The first 5 games, they were pretty good about not having a lot of penalties. And then the last 7, it just went off the rails. I don't know. I don't know how you solve that problem. They've got to solve that problem. And you want to see a team that can beat Tennessee. That's all you're going to be looking for in this game. A team that can beat Tennessee. I'm not sure you're going to see that team on Saturday. And I'm not sure it has anything to do with the Tennessee game. But you'd still definitely want to feel some confidence going into that game. He's got to play better. That's the bottom line. Can't play like you played last week, or you're going to lose a lot of games. You know, Stuart Mandel picked Florida to go 3-9. Hey, let me tell you what. They play like they did last week, the whole season, they'll go 3-9. And it's not like they didn't play good at some points and do some positive things, but the bottom line is they didn't play well enough to win, not even close to playing well enough to win. They got to play well enough to win these kind of games, so we'll see what happens. Number 2, on the process service of Gainesville starting 5, let's talk about McNeese State. They gave up over 500 yards. They gave up a 91-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. It doesn't look good for them this year, but they've got some. I mean, they were 4-7 last year. They got this coach they got from Valdosta, Gary Goff, who did a great job with them. I think he was like 23-2 at Valdosta State. Clearly, they're not very good. Losing to Tarleton, which most of us had never heard of. We thought it was a cigarette. Tarleton cigarettes. More tobacco, less tar, whatever. But the bottom line is, this is not a very good team. Just go out and take care of business. Have some fun. Try to enjoy it. I will say this. My wife and daughter are going to the game. Thanks to Jeremy Foley, hooked them up. They've got parking. They're going to try to have fun. Everybody should go there and have fun. This is your first home game. This is your first chance to go watch the Gators play at your stadium that you love. Try to enjoy it. Try not to be negative. Now, I will say this. If there's a 5-yard procedure penalty within the first 5 plays of the game, there's going to be boos. People are going to be booing loudly. They're not going to like it. But just go out there and play the kind of football you know you can play. I mean, the talent's there. Drives me crazy. Anyway, we're not gonna harp on the first game. all year. But it's all we have to go on right now. And again, this goes back to what I said earlier. When you don't let everybody into practice, and then you have a game, and you stink in the game, that's all we have to go on. That's our sample size. Sample size isn't what you did in practice. Well, we didn't have these problems in practice. How do we know? How do we know you didn't have these problems in practice? Maybe you did, and nobody was calling it. I don't know. Don't want to go too overboard on that. Number 3 on the process service of Gainesville starting 5. This weekend is a lot better than last weekend. Last weekend was a terrible college football weekend, and I said this before because people were counting Thursday and Sunday and Monday games in it. But the weekend itself, Thursday's not the start of the weekend, but it wasn't great. And I watched a lot of football. It wasn't great. This weekend has a chance to be pretty good. There's a lot of great games, and I'm happy. I still go back to what I said last week, which is the SEC or college football needs to come up with an NFL schedule model where you have great games every week. But there's not a bad game on the opening weekend of college football or NFL football because you think everybody's got a chance to win. There's probably nobody with a 30-point spread, I'm guessing. Every spread is like 3 to 8 points. And again, that's because these are the pros. But if you got into a scheduling situation, I don't want to argue about it anymore with myself. But this weekend should be great. And we'll talk about that a little bit more when we get to the other things that we need to do, including the swamp games of the week. Let's get to number 4, which is the NFL is starting too this weekend, which makes things fun. It's always so much better. I don't know what the mentality is of having college football have its first weekend and not having NFL games and not having preseason games now. That's the one thing on a Sunday where you can sit back and go, well, at least let me watch these NFL games. Maybe I'll get excited about that. But the fact they're having NFL games, obviously starting tonight, is exciting. I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it. I do not have a fantasy football team this year. I've kind of gone back and forth, and I didn't get one this year. I didn't get into any. I wasn't invited. Maybe I'm the problem. But I don't know. Zach, do you have a fantasy team?
I'll play fantasy football at a level that no one should play.
Okay.
I'm in a ridiculous amount of teams.
So you're betting way too much money, is what I was saying. Yeah. Okay. I've had teams, I've won leagues, but this year I don't have one. And I kind of like it. It's freeing because you don't care about the players. You only care about who wins the games. And that's where I kind of gotten away from fantasy football times. This year it's just kind of caught up to me and I didn't do it, but I'm still excited for the NFL season coming up. And finally, number 5 on our process service of Gainesville starting 5 is Ben Shelton. You know, he is playing for a chance to be in the final on Friday, and it's not going to be easy. He's playing the Joker. We know what we think is going to happen, but, man, it's been fun to watch him. And it's so cool to see a guy do all the things he's been able to do. And those of you who aren't, Ben Shelton fans or didn't really understand what was going on when he was here, I mean, he was on the team that won the national title, and it was a big part of that. Won the national title himself the following year, right? I think Sam Riffis won it the year before. I don't know. I get confused. But is certainly doing great things out there. And his dad now is out there coaching him. And it's just so much fun to have a Gator that we can root for in tennis. And we haven't had that in a long time. I mean, I would go back probably to Lisa Raymond, and she was mostly doubles. She won some singles titles, but it's fun to have a Gator to watch get me into tennis. It's kind of like with golf. Now we got more Gators on the golf tour, and they're coming out more and more, and so that's great. So I'm excited about it. It's going to be a fun weekend. This is the time of year to be excited because this is the best time of the year. I know some people go, well, the opening of college or of Major League Baseball. So you also have this and that and the Masters and everything. No, and the NBA or the college basketball Final Four and everything. Yeah, that's great. I love that time. This is the best time of year. You've got college football cranking up. The NFL's starting. The Ryder Cup is right around the corner, a couple weeks away. We'll talk about that at some point. Baseball winding down. You're down to 25 games, and there's some great races, and then you're going to get the fall is the best time for sports, at least for me as a sports fan. And I am a big sports fan, as we all know. All right. That's going to do it for our process service of Gainesville Starting Five. Let's go ahead and take a break, and then we'll come back with Coach Spurrier, see what he's got to say about everything that's happened. We'll also get Robbie Andrew on Yes, No, Where, Maybe. We'll look forward to that. It's going to be a fun show. I hope you guys appreciate it, and I hope you stay with us here on another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios.
Process Service of Gainesville offers a rapid turnaround on affidavits of service for Gator lawyers locally and nationwide. Our friend Scott Hart offers immediate responses on status requests and is a member of NAPS and FAPS. And he has been a part of the community for almost 2 decades. Need service? Call Process Service of Gainesville at 407-697-9592 or email shartgators, that's G8TR, at yahoo.com. And make sure you ask about the paralegal legal secretary bonus program.
Attention all Gator fans, Meldon Law is giving away a chance to experience the Florida-Georgia game like never before. 2-night stay at the Hilton on the River, dinner at Ruth Chris Steakhouse, 2 premium tickets to the game, and a football signed by Coach Billy Napier, and much more. Go to the Meldon Law Facebook page and look for the VIP experience for 2. Good luck and go Gators!
Things have certainly got a little out of hand lately when it comes to just buying our everyday necessities. Just look at gas, streaming services, and heck, even chicken wings. Well, there is one necessity that shouldn't cost a ton: taking care of yourself and helping fix all the aches and pains in life, and the fine folks at Titan MRI agree. With costs a fraction of what you'd pay at a hospital, you'll not only save money, you'll be taken care of by staff with over 20 years experience. So when you need an MRI, call Titan first, and you can go where your doctors send their families. Now offering CAT scans.
Another duly noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Celebration Point. You can watch and listen to us on Facebook and YouTube for every podcast that we do on Mondays and Fridays at 2 o'clock. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, any of the other 39 platforms where you can find this podcast or your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below or call me if you want to do some advertising at 352-317-3444. Okay, and welcome back to another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. Great pleasure to bring back Coach Spurrier. Coach Spurrier will be here again Monday because, we'll get back on our regular
back on our routine. Mondays,
yeah, but you had to go and be around. And let me tell you what, when you were going up to that Duke Clemson game, I was like, well, Clemson's going to kill him. That's not going to be pleasant for you. That didn't happen.
No, it did not. And, people asked me about it. I said, well, upsets can happen.
Yeah.
But if you watch the game, it wasn't any huge upset.
No.
Clemson played terribly.
I'm not sure Duke isn't a better team.
That's right.
Yeah.
Duke lined up even with them. I mean, we could run the ball. They made some yards here and there, but obviously all their turnovers led to only 7 points, and Duke thoroughly beat them. It was, and I like the way the Duke coach talked. He said, this wasn't any huge upset. We got a good team here, and we're ready to go on to the next game and so forth. But, I had to go back because I think most fans know it was only the second time that Duke had beat a top 10 team in 34 years. And the last time, of course, was 89 when we were there. And I had 4 of my coaches there, Carl Franks, Bob Sanders, Jimmy Collins, and Rod Broadway, that all came to Florida with me.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And they were all there for it, too. They're sort of out of coaching right now. So we mingled a little bit that afternoon and so forth. Got to see all those guys. But I tell the Gators all the time, if that Duke-Clemson game had not happened, I would never have been a Florida coach. Never would have been. We went into that game 1-3. And the week before, we played Virginia, and they never punted. They scored 7 touchdowns in 8 possessions, and they tried a field goal that hit the upright and came back. I said, man, we have stopped them with that goalpost. As always stopped them. So we came back, and we had good offense, but we needed to force some punts. So here's what we did. And when your defense is going bad, you high school coaches out there, you got to go to a goal line defense all over the field. Now, we couldn't force a punt, but if we get everybody up there, we got a chance to make them throw. Yeah. And we had some little corners that could cover. And we got to force 3 or 4 punts. If we could get the other guys to punt, because we had an offense that could move the ball. So Clemson was coming to town. We're 1-3. They're 4-0, number 7 in the country. And the first half, nothing good happened. Nothing good happened. We had some turnovers. They had us 14-0. And we start the second half. We got a sack. We got a holding penalty. We had 3rd and about 30. So we called the route where all 4 guys would go deep. But the week before, we had the guys on the outside stopping at about 15 yards, just in case. And our quarterback thought the guy was going deep. So Billy Ray went back. He threw a beautiful pass out there, hit the Clemson defensive back on the dead run, going our way. So he's going our way. Well, he decides to get to midfield, change balls from one hand to the other in reverse field, and he dropped the ball on about the 22-yard line. And I can still see Darrell Clements, number 4. He was running the seam route on the other side, hustling his tail off, and he dove on it before their guy could get it. So we had first down on about their 22. We hit a pass down to the 5, and then we ran off tackle. And when the running back, there's sort of a wad, and then all of a sudden the whole wad goes across. Inspiration. Our bench erupted. Guys, hey, we can push these guys around. So now it's 14-7. Game rocks along. One of the biggest breaks in my coaching career was that kid fumbling the ball on the interception. But anyway, they got us 2017. There's about 4 minutes left. We put a drive together. We're on about the 8-yard line. And I called a pass, and they were in a 4-cross zone. And it was for man-to-man. It had no chance. So anyway, quarterback threw it away. And I just happened to look back. I don't know how. I looked back, and our fullback, he had nobody to block, so he goes out right over the middle, about 5 yards. And I just looked back, and he was standing there by himself, Pat. And I said, maybe they'll screw up the coverage again. So sure enough, we got the same formation, the 2 tight ends, 2 wide receivers, and sometimes those linebackers, they don't know what's the strong side or weak side, and they go the wrong way. Right. So sure enough, our fullback checked, went out, guy went the wrong way again, and we had a play that I could tell him who to throw it to. We had hit the Z or hit the back. The back, his signal was that for some reason. Hit the back. So Billy Ray goes back, hits the back, and he falls in the end zone. Nobody touched him. So we hold on, and we beat him 21-17. But the best thing about this whole story is that team now believed, hey, we're pretty good. We beat the number 7 team in the country. We got a new defense we can stop people. We got a running back, Randy Cuthbert, who ended up rushing for over 1,000 yards. And we won the rest of the games. And the closest one was a 9-point win. So, I mean, we clobbered people. We could play some defense, and we could run the ball and throw the ball.
It's kind of like your Alabama game here. Once that game happened, guys believed they could win.
Yeah, we
it wasn't
won a
about
low-scoring game on the road and all that. But anyway, we were when we were 1-3. A friend of mine down here in Florida said they're going to let Galen Hall go, Steve, but we can't hire you if you go 4-7 or 5-6. And I said, listen, I ain't worried about the Florida job. I'm worried about my team here. I'll worry about you guys later if I get a chance. But anyway, it was, and I say that to show you how teams can turn it around. Sure. People in life, this noted psychologist one time said, one of the greatest discoveries of our generation is a person can alter his life with a change in attitude. And our kids had a change in attitude, confidence. we thought we could beat everybody, and I dang we did the rest of the way. So we still celebrate that. And it was 34 years ago, that game. But the moral is that we won the rest of them and won the only ACC championship at Duke in the last 60 years. So that was a pretty neat feat those guys did.
I don't know if he was with you on that team, but one coach that couldn't be there was Lawson Holland, and that him passing away really hit me hard. He was one of the nicest guys.
Yeah, Lawson was a wonderful guy, man. We played tennis together, golf together in the off seasons, and he used to run with us around Lake Alice, things like that. He had an illness, had some heart problems, and the doctors actually had given him about a year to live about a year ago. So it wasn't. He knew.
Wasn't a surprise.
He knew his situation and so forth. I talked to him on the phone maybe a week or two before. But he died in his sleep. I guess that's how we all.
That's the way my dad said.
All want to go, die in his sleep.
Yep.
And it wasn't unexpected. But yeah, Lawson was a wonderful guy. Loved coaching. He was one of our special team coaches. Usually, I think he and Jim College split them up. Right. And we had real coaches coaching them. We didn't have grad assistants coaching special teams.
Yeah, that gets to another point.
That's another thing we'll address here today.
Yeah, which is that. Florida obviously did not play well in that game. They made a lot of mistakes. But, I mean, I just don't understand how you can have – and, again, I'm not being critical of Billy Napier, but heck, you can have so much attention to detail and be so bad on special teams. I mean, did you ever two guys with the same numbers go out on the field at the same time and get a penalty?
I don't even know if we ever had the same numbers. We had plenty of numbers. And some guys say, Coach, I want to wear 22. And I said, well, he's already got it, and he's a starter. Yeah. Now, if you beat him out and you're the starter and he becomes that big, you'll go to 22. I mean, it's simple as that. They can't both all wear the same numbers. But no, I don't think we had that. And it was a bad game out there at Utah as far as how we played. The coaches had a bad game. Hey, I've had bad games and be the first to admit it also. So, but I tell my Duke story. We had about 3 bad games before it, and then we turned it around and changed it. So I'm hoping our Gators, we're going to beat McNeese State. I got to believe we're going to beat those guys. But let's look like a ball team, man. Let's get the right people on the field, go in and out. Let's don't catch punts on the 4-yard line, 5 yards. Not once. Not twice.
Over your shoulder.
But twice.
Yeah. It wasn't like you caught it like this. You caught it like this.
Did somebody, it was the same return guy, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the freshman, again, Wilson, who
did anybody go up and say, listen, you're making us look pretty stupid here.
That's what.
Stand on the 10-yard line and don't go backwards. I thought that everybody tells the punt returner that.
That's why we all wish you were still the coach, because you would have gone right to the guy and said, what are you doing? Don't ever do that again, you know. But that's what I think is the reason Gator fans are down is because they wanted things to get better and they didn't seem like they did. Now, it's just one game. Yeah. We all know that. A game like McNeese, what would you try to get out of a team like a game like that where you were playing somebody you knew you were going to handle?
Well, what we tried to do is get ahead early as big as we could and let all the other guys play. Yeah. And our walk-on players, they would have a little hop in their step when we had a game like this, because they knew they may get to play the last quarter. They may get to play a lot. Every time I see some of the walk-on receivers, Paul Bowen, for example, he talks about that touchdown he got against Kentucky. That's right. At that 65-0 game, and all those guys. It's a thrill of a lifetime with your backup kids. They're out there busting their tail and practice every day for you. They get a chance to play in front of 75,000, 80,000 and catch a touchdown, catch a pass. So that's a fun thing for them. So we wanted to get ahead early, play well. I don't know if you remember, Pat, the first game of '96, Southwest Louisiana.
Yes.
I benched Danny Warfel in the first quarter.
Yep. They said, you're not getting it done. Let's get somebody else in there.
We went out there, 2 possessions and had to punt. And it wasn't all his fault, but I said, Danny and the offensive line, y'all sit down. And Brian Schottenheimer, I said, Shotty, you get in there. I can read Dale, y'all can stay in there. You've not done anything bad yet. So we had the second O-line, and Shotty threw Ike a hitch, and he dodged about 4 guys and went 50 yards for a touchdown. And Shotty,
which he tended to do.
And later, Shotty said, I thought I was going to get to play a little bit. But Coach, but Danny, Danny, you're in the next series. Let's play like we're capable, please. So anyway, I don't know. You got to get their attention a little bit. And
Well, exactly.
And then pat them on the back and say, all right, that's over. Come on, let's play like you're capable.
Yeah, that's all you need to do. I mean,
Right.
is just, I mean, you can only build up to a start of a season so much, you know, and then then when the game starts, you got to adjust to it on the fly. I mean, you were fortunate that you didn't have to play very many good teams in the openers, as we know, but those second games tended to be a little bit bigger deal, and I don't think in this case it's a big deal for Florida, but. McNeese lost to Tarleton State. Do you know where Tarleton State is?
Tarleton, is that in Louisiana also?
No, it's in Stevensville, Texas. So I think it's near.
Yeah, Tarleton. That's
Yeah, because McNeese is right on the border of Texas and
Louisiana.
But
Tarleton State, okay.
anyway, yeah, I'm sure you're not worried about them. But let's talk about what you think Florida's got to do, you know, to get better. I mean, there were a lot of positives in that game. You know, the defense played better than they played last year. Mertz was pretty good, but they were giving away a lot of. They were playing pretty soft coverages after they got up 24-3.
Yeah, his statistics were decent, I guess.
Yeah,
but we didn't run the ball worth the crap.
No.
What did we gain, 1 yard or 10 yards or something?
not much.
Yeah,
I know that the two tailbacks got 10 carries total.
Yeah.
So
yeah, on the sports news the other day, they said Etienne's brother, who's with the Jags, says maybe my little bro ought to go play for Dion out there in Colorado. And I think he only got 4 or 5 carries.
He got 7.
And Montreal only
Montreal got 3.
3, yeah.
Who I think's a great back, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. People say, well, they had a bunch of guys on the line of scrimmage. We had to throw. Maybe we did. I didn't see all that. But at some point, those two guys can really run the ball. And their average per carry last year, 6.1 was Etienne.
Yeah.
So we got to mix the pass in. I know that. But those guys got to get the ball.
How did you soften up a defense when they would be stacking the line? I mean, did you say, hey, we're going to throw it then, and then you'll have to soften up, or was there a trick to doing that?
No, our schemes were pretty simple. If they've got a whole bunch of guys up there and they're playing one-on-one, basically we maximum protect, and our wide receivers would run a corner or a post or a comeback or something like that. So we would pass block them all. And that's, of course, we played with tight ends and 2 backs. So we could block 8 rushers. And then the outside guys are one-on-one, and they couldn't cover our guys.
Yeah, if you go max protect, then
Right.
yeah. Or blue slide Lonnie. I know that.
Excuse me.
Blue
So
slide Lonnie.
our scheme was block them all and throw to our wide receivers who nobody could cover.
Yeah.
So
well,
and then if they spread out, our scheme was to run the ball, certainly. So if the score's nothing to nothing.
Doring, Hilliard, Riddell, Quezzy.
Travis McGrath
Travis
is still
McGrath.
the leading receiver yards per
all
season.
time.
In
Trey
one season.
Everett, Ernie Mill. I mean, you just go through the list, and we'll see if they can maybe come up with some guys like that.
And my Duke wide receiver, Clarkston Hines,
He was great.
He still owns the ACC touchdown reception record. You know how many he got in 3 years? Well, 38.
38? Okay.
Yeah, I think Doring got 31 or so.
Yeah,
And so anyway, Clarkston Hines was a heck of a player also.
he was. Very good player. Also, there was a lot of college football over the weekend. We don't want to get too much into it, but I know you were going to be watching on Friday night or Friday noon Ben Shelton playing some tennis. That is a great story for us here in Gainesville. A guy who played at Buchholz and obviously has done a great job.
Yeah, Ben Shelton, of course, his dad's his coach now. Got us a national championship. He won the individual, and he's in the semifinals, correct? Plays Djokovic.
Playing Djokovic.
Number 1 in the world guy, I think. Or it's Alcatraz. He may be.
I think Alcaraz is.
He may be right now. But yeah, Ben has made a good surge here lately. He went through a spell there. I don't think he won 2 straight for a while.
He was struggling,
but he's playing much better now. So be interested watching that. And of course, I'm going to watch Colorado and Nebraska this week.
Yep.
How about you? Do they play?
Nebraska found a way to lose a game again. It's unbelievable. I was watching the game and I'm like, I can't believe that they just fumbled to lose a game.
Yeah, Deion's got those guys playing. I actually was on Feinbaum yesterday just to throw a little 2 cents in for Deion because he didn't say we're going to beat the heck out of these guys or nothing. He said we're coming. We're coming.
Yeah.
And he said one thing I can guarantee, we're going to have effort. And his players know that. They're going to play with effort or they're not going to play. And I watched so many games. Some of these DBs around the country, they act like they don't even want to tackle. They just go by and slap the guy on the shoulders.
Or they do the shoulder thing, which drives me nuts.
But,
when you go up there and try to tackle with your shoulder, no, you grab them. You grab them around the waist and tackle them to the ground.
And, of course, he had to bring in about, 65 or 68, whatever.
83, I think it was.
But anyway, they've got a good, decent team, and their offense is outstanding. His quarterback and receivers are really good. So it's going to be interesting watching through the course of the year.
We're also excited about volleyball what's going on with them, and they have a game. It's not till next week, but they play number 1. They've already beaten number 2, number 5, and number 8. That's a pretty good start for Mary.
Very good start for Mary. Yeah, this could be her year. Of course, she's won about 25 SECs, but she still wants a national. Every time I see her, she said, "I still don't have that national that most all of our other sports here have." So anyway, it's time for her to get one maybe this year.
All right, Coach, anything else you got for us?
Oh, just looking around the SEC a little bit. Preseason we were picked number 9. I happened to just look at it, and we were favored in 3 games: Arkansas, Vandy, and Missouri. So before the season started, we were underdogs to Kentucky, South Carolina, Tennessee, LSU, and Georgia. So that's not.
I don't think any of that's changed.
I don't know if anything's changed or not, but hopefully we can change this thing around, and it can change. It can change. Teams can change. They can change their attitude if they want to, or if they have to, and they want it bad enough. So we'll find out after this week. I mean, certainly we need to beat these guys and play efficiently and play with, good effort and act like we know what we're doing. And then when Tennessee comes in, put it all together and get on the roll.
Just not have those.
That's got to be the game plan. Hopefully, Billy Napier and his staff are putting together right now.
Stop having false start penalties and stop having legal formation penalties. And again, you would hope that after a game you would be able to figure that out. We'll see what.
I know a lot of fans say they wish somebody would get mad down there on the sideline. We used to have coaches that would throw a fit.
Yeah,
a little bit.
I remember that.
But it seems like nobody gets mad. I think our D coordinator, Austin, would get mad a little bit down there. But anyway, that's just sort of part of coaching. Is you yell at the guys.
Everything's different, and that's the thing, Steve. Everybody keeps going. He needs to get a coordinator. He doesn't need to be the coordinator. I'm like, well, Steve was coordinator. I mean, Steve did a pretty good job of that. Mike Norvell's a coordinator. Lincoln Riley's a coordinator. Just be better at being the coordinator. It's not that you have to give it up. You just got to do a better job than what he's been able to do so far.
Yeah, I don't. Coordinators do it differently. Now, I'll tell you how I did it. I ran around with the quarterbacks all day.
Yeah.
Most all these other guys don't do that.
Right.
In fact, the guy that runs around with our quarterback is, I can't think of his name right now, but he's one of those analyst guys. He's not one of the full-time coaches. But that's not to say you can't do it that way. If you can do it that way and it works, that's fine. But I always wanted to be with the guys pretty much all day through the drills and everything. And every pass.
And that worked pretty well.
And they got corrected if they fundamentally were off and so forth. But that's just the way I did it.
All right, Coach, we'll let you go. We'll come back with more here on another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law. Gator Studios and Meldon Law bringing you Coach Spurrier as they always do. And we're going to be back on schedule Monday.
Right here.
Meldon Law.
All right.
We'll be right back.
Gator fans, football season is here. What's better than seeing the Gators back on the field? Easy.
seeing amazing speakers and fellow Gator fans weekly at the Gainesville Quarterback Club. Held every Tuesday night of a home game at the Best Western Gateway Grand. Enjoy happy hour, great food, valuable insights from yours truly and Andy Staples, plus notable speakers throughout the season. As the oldest Gator booster club in the world, Gainesville Quarterback Club gives you access to elite speakers like coaches, NCAA football insiders, Gator greats, and more. Share your passion for Gator football with hundreds of other members at weekly in-season meetings, home tailgates, and special events throughout the year. Join the Gainesville Quarterback Club today. Email the club at membership@quarterbackclub.org or visit thequarterbackclub.org. Or better yet, just give me a call and I'll get you to the right people.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Bite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from another Dooley Noted podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam Brewer To Go. What gave you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place like this?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Rib Co. To Go. Come on down and enjoy it. Okay, welcome back to another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios here at Steve Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. It's always our great pleasure on Mondays, usually, to bring in Robbie Andrew, who is brought to you by Hesser and Kipke, and he comes to you on the Big Mills Cheesesteaks Zim line. Ready to play yes, nowhere, maybe. Robbie, how was your weekend?
Good, Pat. How was yours? A lot of football.
A lot of football. It's going to be better this week, I'm hoping. Last week was kind of, to be honest with you, a little bit boring. There were enough games to get your interest, but again, I was watching like the Texas State Baylor game. I found that game somehow.
I never got to that one.
And that was a huge upset.
Yeah. But to me, the game of the week was the Colorado game against TCU. Yeah. That was really entertaining.
It was. It was a great game, and it'll be interesting to see how things go for them going forward. And that's one of our topics on Yes, No Way, or Maybe, brought to you by Big Mills Cheesesteak. And, of course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, street dining done the right way. We appreciate Keith Miller over there at Big Mills. Does a tremendous job. And we always love having Robbie on for this segment. Let's go, Robbie. Number one, Colorado beats Nebraska. Now, Nebraska had that game won, and then they lost it like they did the last 3 years. They lose every game. If you can find a way to lose it, they find a new way to lose it. Nebraska did it again. I think there'll be a little bit of a hangover for Colorado. So do you think Colorado beats Nebraska?
Pat, I'm going to go with a maybe on that one for a couple of reasons. For one, I think that Nebraska is much better on the line of scrimmage than TCU, has a much better defense than TCU, so they're going to be more tested. And, the Colorado game was great. I felt great for them and for Coach Prime, but, they acted like they had won something. They won a game. Yeah. It was the first game. It's not like they won a championship. It's not a beginning and end. They've got to, follow up with that. So it's going to be a maybe. Otherwise, I think it's going to be a tough game for them, tougher than a lot of people think.
I made this point too, Robbie, and you know this from watching football, that this weekend and watching it last year. That game was every game TCU played last year. That was every game came down to the wire. They would have these unbelievable finishes. They're must-see TV, but they won all those games last year. This year they came up a little short. It's not like TCU was this physical, dominant team that, so I still am not convinced about Colorado.
And remember this, Pat, TCU gave up 70 points in the championship game against Georgia.
Yes,
so that defense isn't any good at all, and they lost players. So
I know. And they don't have Max Duggan and the running back. So, but that'll probably be the worst defense that Colorado faces all year, to me. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that you're absolutely right. Let's get to number two. Number 2, Ben Shelton wins a set at the U.S. Open tomorrow night when he plays Joker.
Wins a what, Pat?
One set.
No, I'm going to say yes on that, Pat. I don't think he's going to win the match because you look at all the experience he's going against, and he's under the big thing. But this kid has really impressed me with his not only his personality but his skill level, and he's a young, strong guy. And the big thing about him, he believes in himself, Pat. So yeah, I think he's going to win a set, and I think that he'll push Joker all the way.
Yeah, I hope he does. It's going to be fun. We've had a lot of fun watching it this week.
Yeah, me too.
He's just, he's the kind of guy I like. He's a 6'4" and hits great serves and has personality on the court, like you said. So I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait for tomorrow night. Or tomorrow,
he has a chance to be the next big thing in tennis, Pat.
Yeah, it actually starts in the middle of the day, so we'll have to watch it then. Maybe we can go to somewhere and have some daytime drinking, although you're not feeling good. So
we'll have to see about that.
Yeah. All right. And Robbie is playing hurt today. I will say that. I hope he doesn't have COVID after going through it, and maybe he doesn't, but we'll see what happens. All right, Robbie. This is a trick question in a way, but not really. State teams in the state of Florida that are in the Power 5 go undefeated this week. Now, let me preface this. We know Florida's playing. You know who FSU's playing, Southern Miss. You know Miami's playing Texas A&M. UCF has at Boise State. So they go undefeated. Yes, nowhere, maybe.
I'm going to say maybe, Pat, because to me, I think A&M going to Miami, I think the Aggies have a chance because they played really well last week. And Miami looked okay, but nothing great. So I'm going to say just maybe because A&M, I think, can take UM. You
would be happy with like a 2-2 split, like UCF loses and Miami loses.
I'd be happy with one, Pat. Wouldn't you?
I would be happy if FSU lost to Southern Miss. If I could trade any game out, that would be the.
That's never going to happen, Pat.
No. Well, it could have happened. I remember watching that game, and I think it was '87 when Brett Favre led Southern Miss to the big win against FSU, and that was such a big deal. But
it was in Jacksonville. I covered that game.
It was, yeah. That's great that you covered that game. I watched it at my dad's house, and we had a blast watching the game. That was back when Southern Miss had a good football team. They don't have that anymore.
Yeah, they did. They had a good quarterback.
All right, Rob, we'll let you go. Appreciate you playing hurt and coming on the show, and maybe next week we'll get you out to one of our many sites for radio, and but hopefully you feel better.
Yeah, sounds good, Pat. I'll talk to you this weekend.
All right, appreciate it. Robbie Andrew joining us on Yes, No Way, or maybe. Let's get to our Gainesville Quarterback Club picks, great picks, which we call it. I almost didn't get the name right. That was bad. But our Gainesville Quarterback Club great picks, and we give you like 3 or 4 picks a week, and I see how I can do on them. Here's my great picks for this week, and we'll have a special guest telling you who's going to be the speaker. That's going to be cool. All right, Nebraska is getting 3 against Colorado. It's at Colorado. That play's going to be hyped. Nebraska still, I know that they found a way to lose a game the way they found ways to lose games in the past. But to me, I'm like, maybe you just aren't any good. Maybe you just don't have guys that can make big plays. And I'm going with Colorado on this game, even though they're only giving up 3 points. That doesn't seem like a lot. They're at home. I like Colorado. In fact, if I was going to make it a lock of the week, you would know not to pick Colorado because I never get those right. So I'm not going to make it a lock of the week. Notre Dame giving 7.5 to NC State. I think people are thinking this is going to be a better game than it's going to be. I watched NC State last week. They're not very good. I think Notre Dame is going to throttle them. So I will give the 7.5 points. And then Texas A&M is given 3.5 to Miami at Miami, which is not that big a deal. But I'm going to go with A&M. I think A&M may be good, and we don't know yet. We'll find out, and that game will have a lot to do with it. But I can't get the taste of Miami's last few weeks of the season last year out of my mouth. It just was terrible. They were just not very good. And then finally, Texas getting 7.5 at Alabama. I think Texas is back. I may be wrong, and I'm probably wrong. I think Alabama may be better than people have said, but Texas A&M, they got a lot of good play. I mean, I said Alabama, but Texas, get that straight, Pat. Texas, not Texas A&M. Texas, I think this is when they're ready. This is their moment in the sun. Go to Alabama, win that game, be something. Be somebody. That's my theory, and I'm sticking to it. You know the story about that joke? That's my story, and I'm sticking to it?
I can't say I do.
Okay. It's a guy named Alex Hawkins was a great wide receiver. He was also known as a partier. One day, he came home, and in the middle of in the morning, and his wife said, "Hey, where you been?" And he said, "Oh, I slipped on the hammock outside because I got home so late I didn't want to wake you up." And she goes, "You took that hammock down 2 weeks ago." And he goes, "That's my story, and I'm sticking to it." So that's the story I stick to. I'm sticking to that story. All right.
On Tuesday, the Quarterback Club welcomes former Gator player David Young as our speaker. David was a player under Meyer Muschamp era, and we're looking forward to hearing how that's developed him into a local businessman. Then the following week, we have Katie Turner, Assistant AD of Recruiting Strategy. This is her second season with Billy Napier and the team. We look forward to hearing more insight from her.
Okay, well, that was, of course, our great picks, and we appreciate all of our friends over at the Gainesville Quarterback Club. Let's get to the Adams Ribco to Go Gator of the Week. And, I could have easily made a Ben Shelton again. We already made it one, but I said, no, let's go with somebody else. Let's come up with somebody else. And it was hard to find because we didn't have a lot of time, but JoJo Ramey, who you never have heard of, okay? She is going to be an incoming freshman at the University of Florida. Swimmer. And won the silver in the World Juniors in the 200 backstroke, like this. But the 200 back, so she becomes our Gator of the Week. So she hasn't even gotten to school. I don't even know if she's, she may have come and registered and everything, done that, and then she went off to this. It was in Israel, actually. So maybe she hasn't come to school yet, but she'll be here in the fall. And she's already won the Adams Ribco to Go Gator of the Week. I mean, what could be better than walking in as an Adams Ribco to Go Gator of the Week winner? Nothing can be better than that if you're a freshman coming in here. We appreciate Adam for being such a great host. Let's get to our Hesser and Kipke 3 things. We all know Hesser and Kipke is a Gainesville law firm specializing in the areas of workers' compensation and family law. Ken and Jennifer take great pride in their one-to-one focus on each and every client they represent. Ken is board certified in workers' compensation law by the Florida Bar, while Jennifer possesses extensive jury trial experience with a nearly 20-year background as a prosecutor. Don't believe me? Well, check out their 5-star Google reviews. Set an appointment at hklawfl.com, or better yet, call them at 352-339-9920. Hesser and Kipke. Interesting, Hesser and Kipke, Ken Hesser, sent me a text, and he wanted to get in touch with Process Service of Gainesville. So, look, we're trying to build this empire of all these great sponsors who can deal with each other and make things happen. At least that's my plan. Let's get to number one on Hesser and Kipke's three things. Really tragic story. Mike Williams, who I loved as a player with the Bucks, really good player, played at Syracuse, was apparently was out of football, and he was in a construction accident, and he's on life support. For all I know, he could have passed away already. It doesn't sound like good for him. Hopefully he can recover, but it doesn't sound good. I know that there was a Buffalo station, because he played at Buffalo too, that reported he'd already passed away. And again, like I say, we tape this show today. We tape it on Thursday. By the time you see this, he could have be gone. It's just sad. I'm depressed because I really liked him as a player, and I'm not a Bucks fan, but I liked him as a player a lot. So hopefully, maybe he can somehow recover. I'm not optimistic, but and I don't think anybody else is either. But just a really sad story. And let's get to a story that's not as sad, which is the CBS Sports hot seat for NFL coaches, not college coaches. All right, so NFL coaches. Ron Rivera, number one on their hot seat, which makes sense. I mean, I'm surprised I didn't even know he was still their coach, to be honest with you. Because when they were talking about Eric Bieniemy, and I'm like, oh, did he become the Redskins, the Commanders coach? And I'm like, I don't think so. And then, yeah, Ron Rivera is still their coach. Number two, Dennis Allen with the Saints. He's only had 1 year. Number four was Todd Bowles, who's only had 1 year with them. I mean, this is the NFL, and you get 1 year to figure it out. And if you don't, then, I don't understand why, to me, the number one coach is on the hot seat is Josh McDaniels, because he's never been a good head coach in his career. He's a good coach, not a good head coach. They weren't good last year. They should get rid of him. I don't know why he's still their head coach. But anyway, I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just going to, because NFL coaches come and go. And you know what happens? They get fired and they get a job the next year with another team. And even though, because they've been a head coach, that apparently qualifies you. Number three, not good news for Gator fans, because most of us don't like Kim Mulkey. But she has got a deal now that it's reported at $32 million to stay at LSU for a long time. I don't know who was coming after her, but probably somebody. This is what LSU is doing. LSU is spending a ton of money, and they've got, I mean, look, you're in the SEC. The money is flowing in. LSU's spending it. Florida's spending it on facilities. LSU's spending it on coaches. Maybe Florida needs to think about spending on their coaches, although they spend a lot on their current coach, $8 million a year. But anyway, Kim Mulkey's going to be around for a long time, and that makes all of us sick. And the reason we don't like Kim Mulkey was we got too much of her when her son was playing in the College World Series in 2017. And now she's getting $32 million. Think of how obnoxious her outfits are going to be now. They're going to be off the chain. They were bad before. They were embarrassing. Like you wanted to go to her and go, hey, that's not a good look. Well, it's not a good look. And she says that the reason she wears all those ridiculous outfits is she wants people to pay attention. You know, you get people to pay attention, she win. And which she did. She won the national championship. That got your attention, not the ridiculous outfits you're wearing. As you can tell, I'm not a big fan. That is our Hesser and Kipke three things. Let's get to our Leonardo quick picks, and it's going to be very simple. Does Ben Shelton win a set? I asked Robbie this earlier. Does he win a set against Djokovic on Friday? That's going to be a tough one. I don't know where I'd go on that. Djokovic's obviously the second best player in the world. Everybody's waiting for the Djokovic Alcaraz, or as Spurrier called him, Alcatraz matchup in the final. Does he win a set? It's yes or no. Very easy answer. And we got winners that we got to wait and find out about from the other show that we did this week. But we appreciate our friends at Leonardo's at Millhopper Quick Picks. They do a great job. Let us get to our Swamp Restaurant games of the weekend. We will be out there now. That has changed, by the way. We are out there now on Thursdays. We changed things up. We're actually going to be at the Hilton on Fridays. Jeff and I doing our radio show. So we'll be out there today, and we'll be out there on Thursdays if you want to come out and see us. And if you want to come out there on Saturday and watch games and get some sangria, they got a great deal on that. And so many good deals there. Free beer on. Well, you got to pay a cover charge, but you free beer. They do a great job. I cannot wait to get out there today and see what they've got in store for us. But our games of the weekend, we always start with the state game of the weekend is Texas A&M at Miami. No doubt about that. That's 3:30 on ABC. So I'm looking forward to that game. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. The SEC games, I'm going to give you two, and obviously Alabama Texas is a big one. That's at 7 o'clock on ESPN. Ole Miss Tulane. I am looking forward to that game. 3:30 on ESPN2. So I'm going to have the two TVs going at all times. There's no doubt about that. So those are our SEC best games. And the national best game, if you eliminate the other games, I think is Notre Dame at NC State. NC State didn't look great last week. Notre Dame did when they played 2 weeks ago. Oh, no, they played again last week. They played like East Tennessee State or somebody. But anyway, that game is at noon on ABC. So that's the way you start your day. And then also at noon, Colorado, Nebraska. That's not the way you pronounce it. It's Nebraska, not Nebraska. For some reason I pronounce it Nebraska. That is a noon game too on Fox. So you got so much good football to watch. Just enjoy it. Enjoy it. Have fun. Those are our Swamp Restaurant games of the weekend. Let us get to this, that, and the other, which is always brought to you. Well, not always. I will say this. It's brought to you by Darshackow Insurance, by Ballyhoo Grill, and by Ironwood Golf Course for the rest of this month. And then Jeff Cardozo is leaving, so I don't know if they're going to continue to sponsor us, and it's okay. I've said this before. Jeff is resigning, and I don't know if I think he's good with me announcing that. It's been, everybody knows about it by now, but it's not great for Gainesville, but it's great for him. He's got a better job, and he's going to do great things. I don't know what's going to happen at Ironwood, to be honest with you. I'm not optimistic about it. I don't know that I'm going to be out there anymore. I don't think we'll have a golf tournament out there this year. But we know, you never know. Things could change. Things could get crazy, weird, wild. Anyway, this, that, and the other. Maybe sponsored for the last time by Jeff Cardozo and Ironwood Golf Course. This is Caleb Williams. Last year won the Heisman, as you're well aware of it. We all were freaking out. Man, can you imagine what that quarterback class is going to be like when he's in it next year? Freaking out about it. And then, of course, the first game, he lights it up against San Jose State. But he was really good. Had his Heisman moment. We all got excited watching that. That is at the same time, right around the same time, the Cardinals announced they're cutting Colt McCoy. They're not going to have a quarterback this year. They said, we're not going to try to have a quarterback. We're just going to go without one, see how that goes. We're tanking, basically. We're going to try to lose every game, and if we lose every game, we'll get the first pick, and we'll get Caleb Williams. And what did I tell you guys? His dad said, I don't think he's going to go out. I don't think he's going to go to the NFL because he didn't want to go to that awful organization. And I know that this is a little bit of posturing, but we've seen it happen. Andrew Luck came back because he didn't want to go somewhere. Eli Manning said, look, I'll sit out a year. John Elway, I'll go play baseball. This is not unusual for quarterbacks to say, I don't want to go there, so I'm going to go do something else with my time. In Caleb Williams' case, he could come back and play another year at USC. I don't think that'll happen, but I'm not surprised to see his dad posturing already for it. And Arizona could get in a situation where they just go, I tell you what, if people will give us enough draft picks, we'll let him go somewhere else. And I think that is what will happen. I don't think Arizona's going to end up getting him. They will probably have the first pick, though. I don't think there's much question about that. All right, I think we've got everything covered except for Pat Dooley's story time. And I had a couple of different ones I wanted to go with, but I was thinking about, I decided to go with this one, and I don't think I've told this story before. And sometimes I think I've told stories so many times that have I told it on this show. But anyway, it is brought to you as always by Eastlake Pediatrics, our good friends at Eastlake Pediatrics, and Mike Jordan does a great job down there. But my Pat Dooley story time is because I talk about a lot of the travel that I've done and how I don't like it, some of it, and I'm glad I don't have to do it, much of it. One of the trips that was the most yin and yang of all time was we went to Alabama. This would have been Will Muschamp's next to last year. Might have been his last year, whatever year it was. And we couldn't find a hotel. You can't get a hotel in Tuscaloosa. You can't, or you got to go to Birmingham, and it's just not. Anyway, we found this place in Prattville, Alabama, that seemed like a pretty good location, and it was close enough. So we stayed there, and we got there, and as we register and get to our rooms, we realize there's a women's golf tournament going on, a LPGA golf tournament going on. Literally, you walked out the door and you were in it. And they didn't care whether you had a credential or anything or a pass. So we went out there and took our beers out there and watched golf all day. Walked around the course, beautiful course in Prattville. So that was great. Then we had to go to the game. Florida got killed. They actually took the lead because they got a bunch of turnovers early, but they got destroyed in the game. And on the way home, I'll never forget this as long as I live. We're driving home, and Robbie's driving, and we're on a 2-lane highway. It's about an hour drive, and I think we're going to die. And we listened to the Miami-Nebraska game, and Nebraska won. And the Miami guys were bitching about, or the Nebraska guys were bitching about how Miami had all these personal foul penalties. Then we flipped it over. We found the FSU-Clemson game. Clemson blew the game at the end. FSU won. Robbie hates FSU more than anybody. Nobody hates them more than he does. And so at one point, Robbie says, I'm just going to drive my car into this tree. And so I literally put my feet on the ground and went, brace! This could be happening. I think he's that mad. He wasn't that mad. He said that a lot. We got home. We made it home okay. But this is why I don't like going on the road. Not because of Robbie, believe me. He's a great driver. But because you end up at 11:30 at night on a 2-lane highway in Alabama. I'm glad not to be having to go on the road anymore. All right, that is going to do it. That's our Pat Dooley story time brought to you by Eastlake Pediatrics. Thanks to all of our great sponsors. We love them so much, and we will be back with another show on Monday, and we'll tell you all about Florida McNeese. Well, we'll tell you about some other games, too. Until then, I am Pat Dooley on another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator studio, saying I'm deep, I'm way back, and thanks to Zach. I forgot to say that. Thanks to Zach for doing a great job. I am out of here.